Oxnylia. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. Great to have you on. And I heard about you from one of David Icke's videos. It said this, he does the thing at the beginning of his videos where it says this David Icke video thing is brought to you by, or maybe you could explain why, how you got involved with him in any way, or if he's just promoting you because he likes your work, and maybe if you didn't interact with him directly, I'd love to get him on my show, but for some reason maybe he thinks I'm too not popular enough of a radio host to be worthy of someone like him who's the great orator of our time. But all right, I'm
Yeah.
digressing. The important thing is that's where I heard about you, and 432 hertz material, very, very pertinent. In fact, I recently watched a some video where a guy talked about the numerological and mathematical stuff behind it. I'd like to talk about that in this interview and all later on. But first, why don't you, if I say your name wrong, please correct me, and introduce yourself, your life story, where you discovered the magic of the 432 hertz frequency and how it's incorporated in your videos. And are you the lady that's appearing in all those videos? I'm actually on a trek mission of sorts to watch one video a day until I finish, and I've got about 5 videos left on your channel. So and I like them. I love them very much. So
Oh, thank you.
why don't you tell us your story? You got the floor.
Sure. It's pronounced Oxnyllia,
Okay.
and I'll start with my life story. I guess, growing up in the program society and having the beginning of my awakening, because it's never like you awaken and then it's over. It's like layers upon layers. And I was in around 2009, 2010, and I've always been incredibly music driven. So like with music, I started dabbling in that and getting into spirituality and really getting into knowing about myself and about my subconscious aspects and how to integrate them, how to heal more and more, and always continue evolving. And physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, it's important that all of these bodies get tuned up and integrated and brought into the center. And my studies took me first through spirituality, and then I got really into health, into veganism, and how to have a complete lifestyle change. And then I got introduced to David Icke's work, and that was really like a huge, profound moment in my life. And I think a lot of other people will agree, like once they watch David's material, he puts it in such a way where he connects all the dots and gives you the bigger picture, where it's like all of these random events that were occurring. It's like no one was like they were never stringed together in such a simple and intelligent way as David puts them together. So after that, that was in about 2018. It was a 6-hour video on YouTube called was The Lion Sleeps No More. Human race, get off your knees. And it was just incredible. And something lit up inside of me, and I knew that I had to share that work, and I had to put it into my music. And that's where my music really took a change, because it became much more about helping wake up people to these things that they don't know that are going on, whether it be chemtrailing, whether it be this whole 5G nightmare that we're in right now, whether it be, the enslavement of humanity through the monetary system. I decided to put all of that and channel it all into my visual works, which are my music videos. And then I got really into studying occultism, studying energy, vibration, and and I have a channel that is for all of the occultism, and like I do a lot of stuff with radiation, with things that are going on in the government. I talk about the pedophilia, the Vatican, all of those occult things that are hidden from the public. I put them in an easy, digestible way. It's called Electrically Alkaline, that channel. And now I'm really, really into getting off the grid. I think we know, something is going on right now. And I think a lot of us are getting the call to leave the cities and to become self-sustainable. So I'm currently been learning all about dome homes, which are made with aircrete, which is like 70% cheaper than regular concrete. and you can build a beautiful sacred geometrical dome home for around $12,000 within a matter of 2 to 3 months. So I'm still researching and looking into the systems that would help make that home fully functional and self-sustainable, like with water and power. So I'm going to be documenting that on my Electrically Alkaline channel as well, so that it can hopefully inspire others to get off the grid, go back to nature, and to really start living a holistic lifestyle.
Thank you. And I was unaware of that Electrically Alkaline channel, so I just want to get it up here on my screen. Might as well get you some of the videos here as talking points. Besides, now that I know that the 432 hertz thing is not the only thing that you are able to talk about, but might as well start with that. So the 432 hertz frequency is what our music should be tuned to, but there's a conspiracy to make it 440 hertz and all that.
Of course.
Now the thing about 432 hertz, if you do the math and all, multiply it by several things, it eventually gets to like 2160 or something, which is the years of one cycle in the zodiac. And then of course there's the whole well, I don't really need to spend too much time talking about what I know about this, but maybe you can explain why it is that the 432 frequency has so much magic in it. I will say though that one of the audios that I frequently listen to, 432 hertz based, the message there seems to be relationship. That's the title of the audio. It's suggesting that listening to this will enhance my relationships on a full consciousness level with, well, anything that I seek to have a relationship with, I guess. Maybe you can explain the science behind how that works. But so what is 432 hertz all about, and how does it get incorporated in your music? If someone listening to it would not be aware of what you do, wouldn't know that that's what's in the music, subliminally, subconsciously, it's doing something to them. How does it do that to them?
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I have a great audio presentation with this too on my Electrically Alkaline channel if they go to the 432 hertz video, so they can get a visual representation, but I'll definitely explain it for you. Prior to the 1930s, all music, orchestral, radio, any kind of music and sound that we would listen to was tuned at 432 hertz. And after the 1930s, when the Nazis started coming into power, they were the ones that actually switched it to 440 hertz, and then it was adapted by the Americans, and then it went around the world. They had retuned everything from radio, television, music, instruments to 440 hertz. And it was a very profound change because the Nazis were actually very intelligent. They knew a lot about frequencies, and they took this knowledge and they weaponized it. So it's like with the microwave. They didn't invent the microwave, but they were basically the ones that fine-tuned it and then like made it popular and put it in everybody's homes. But basically, it's like took the frequency and it created something that's out of resonance in the body. So when you have, do you know about cymatics? You know what that is?
Cymatics, that's when you play a sound to create an image in the sand.
Perfect, yeah, okay, good. So you do that across the sand, or you can do it across a body of water. And they took these two frequencies, and what they found was that 432 hertz created this beautiful pattern. It was completely symmetrical, and it was crystallized and harmonious. And then they took the slight alteration of 440 hertz, and they found that the pattern came out incredibly distorted, out of tune. And this is so profound because we are mostly water. Our brains are around 90% water. Our bodies have over 70% water. And these frequencies, they travel through into our water body, and these patterns are created throughout the body. So it literally can put you into alignment, or it can take you out of alignment. That's why a lot of times too, like when people hear like really aggressive heavy metal music, it puts them in an angry state. Like that's how susceptible we are to these frequencies and the patterns they create in our body.
Sorry, I was having a little trouble with my headset there, pressing the mute button. Um, yes, well, since you mentioned that about heavy metal music, I mean, I can't help but make a little bit of a baked difference of sorts. I did go to Ozfest a few times in my life. I had that phase of my life where I went to some heavy metal events, and I never really had any sort of an issue with that music. I mean, I've always enjoyed gung ho things. I mean, I've always said Alex Jones, listening to him makes a man out of me. Of course, listening to David Icke will make a man out of anybody, or a really strong woman out of anybody. Is a man out of you. I mean, fear porn isn't necessarily a bad thing if it can help you overcome your fears listening to it and realizing that's what it is. Um, but heavy metal music, I have heard a lot of things about it. It seems like it's the only thing that's good for consciousness suppressing. Well, I don't. Where are they making that argument? Because I've even heard like some people have, like Indigo Child Mates de Stefano from Argentina has said, don't you dare shun all those kids you see that are mall rats that like heavy metal music and also punk music that you see like at like shopping malls. I was that too for a little while in high school myself. Those people, because of their unique choices and dressing in a way that says, I don't care what you think about me, to hell with judging a book by its cover, they're helping raising the vibrational frequency of the earth. That's a good thing. And yet you're telling me that heavy metal music that these people like is a bad thing? I don't think so.
Yes,
I mean,
I'm gonna give you the perfect example. Do you
okay.
know who Dr. Emoto is?
Yeah.
Perfect. So you know about his studies he did with water and programming water.
Yes.
He published some pictures of water and what it looked like when it was exposed to different types of music. And I would love for you to go take a look at the picture of heavy metal music. It looks completely demonic. It has absolutely no sacred geometrical shape or pattern to it. And you know, that's pretty much a visual example of what you're getting when you listen to it. However, I understand the freedom. You know, it's like I love, you know who Diane Ward is, and I love, like, I used to be into a lot of heavy metal music too, but it's good to bring rage, but at the same time it's not ultimate freedom if it's rebellion, because you're still going in resistance to something. You know what I mean? It's just going to keep you in that loop. Not true liberation.
Oh, okay. I see that. Well, then again, religions, of course, were created with the intention of suppressing consciousness, but then again, that does not mean
Mm.
that there's benevolent entities that are interfering with the bad entities that are trying to use religion as brainwashing to make sure that the religion can be used for good purposes. The benevolent higher consciousness entities are. So,
Yeah, it's a
bad
good point.
idea to. You want to say something?
Oh no, I said that's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. Um, and of course, you say you're a fan of David Icke, and I am too, and I called him the great orator of our time. Well, that's actually what George Kavassilis said. I see David Icke as more of a Cicero and a Gandhi in one. Not
Yeah.
really qualities of both, not really like the freedom and independence loving of Gandhi and the orator skills of Cicero. Um, but I've kind of been upset with David Icke over in more recent years because of his desire to always seek a conspiracy out of everything, even when there's really no need to do that. I mean, I can name a couple times where he has been duped into believing that people like Sai Baba and Zechariah Sitchin were frauds, and they aren't. I've heard evidence that they're not, but he has been duped into thinking they are, and because his brain seems to be wired in such a way, and this isn't me talking, this is Cliff High talking, when Cliff made a video saying David Icke is mistaken with his claim that there is no coronavirus and it's just genetic material. I mean, is it true? Is it not true? I don't know, but Cliff High asserts it's not true, and Icke believes it would be like that because his brain sees everything as a conspiracy. But if there is a good thing to seeing everything as a conspiracy, it does knock all the weak links out of us. I mean, he's basically knocking every single weak link out of our chain until there are no more weak links left. And well, how much longer would he need to do that? Well, I hope it's by no later than 2024, when that solar eclipse in April 8th, 2024 is supposed to signal the end of the Roman Empire of the modern era that is the United States of America, and also no more Illuminati control on Earth. That's what Brad Johnson, who
Hmm.
channels Adronis, has said. So I've babbled long enough. All this stuff about Ike being too conspiratorial when he doesn't really need to be. That's not the best way to do it, and whatnot. And when maybe he'll stop having to do that, and what you see in humanity's future regarding that. Any comments?
Yes, actually, I do. It's interesting you mentioned that the end of the Illuminati, because there's a video that came out on April 16th. I'll send it to you after the call, and I would love for all of your listeners to watch it. But I warn you, you have to have a strong stomach. This is definitely not for the faint nor the weak. Like, if you are very unstable mentally, this is not the video for you. This is like definitely for the truth seekers. But it's called Cabal Deep State QAnon full length film. It was released April 16th. It's a miracle that it's still up on the internet. I'm sure at some point it's going to be taken down. It's already almost got 250,000 views. And out of all of my years of researching the Illuminati, the satanic ritualism, how it controls all of the power structures and all of the thing with Hillary and Pizzagate, all of that, years and years and years of researching, and QAnon, by the way, is in here with Trump and what's going on with Putin, which like nobody is being told on the mainstream, of course. This film documents it and breaks it down with proof and evidence in such an elegant way that it literally, like, the people that still haven't waken up and have a lot of catching up to do, this video will take you to where you need to be in order to make your next step concisely and to be able to understand what's really going on. Because while we have this whole lockdown, like, there are things going on behind the scenes. There is a lot of pedophiles being arrested right now. There's also been like a huge thing with the human trafficking and and these underground tunnels. Like, there's a lot of movement happening, and there's been like a plan that's going on behind the scenes to take down this disgusting Illuminati satanic cult. And I definitely believe that it's the end of their time. We are going through an incredible ascension, a corona mass awakening of our crown chakras. But what people, I think, are really not ready to understand is that it is going to come at a cost. And I think a lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to go hungry. There's going to be a lot of instability in our economy, which we're already seeing. We're seeing massive, massive lines of cars waiting all day just to get some free food. So it's coming, but it's not going to be comfortable. And that's why it's so important to learn to be self-sustainable now more than ever.
Can't agree with you any further on that. I very much would love to convert the property that I'm living on into more of a farm-like environment, being able to grow vegetables and have some chickens and maybe even a cow to do some things. Trying to cut back on meat so I don't have to slaughter my own animals, but still gonna eat meat to some degree for quite a while, I'm sure. Cut back though every bit and never become a true vegan, but still be able to cut back over the course of time.
I
Um,
have to mention something about that really important, because
yeah,
a lot of people do talk about that, and I just have to say this, and I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to be maybe aggravated or upset with me, but I think those people have to have a deeper look at to why they're having that reaction. But basically, the reason why these reptilians and these extraterrestrial forces, which have been here on the earth, the reason why they're able to traffic humans, to murder, rape, and torture little children for all the years that they've been doing is because humans are doing the exact same thing to animals. It's karma. This is a universal law. So the minute that people stop enslaving, murdering, and ripping the life of an animal with its family, that is when this whole satanic thing will just fall. It will have no substance to remain.
Yes, and I have said that some people say there's no right way to kill an animal. Well, okay, consider the way that animals are tortured, the way they've been, like chickens cooped up in those crowded houses where they have like nowhere to move and everything. I mean, or a cow being the horrors of seeing the slaughterhouse that it's about to be killed, and
Yeah.
an animal being killed like that is completely different than an animal that is happy because it has a carrot dangling from a stick in front of it, and it's really happy at that moment because it's about to enjoy a carrot, and then its owner shoots it and kills it instantly, so the animal died happy. I use this the mice of men analogy in that book of Mice and Men, you may remember, where um, George killed his friend Lenny so Lenny wouldn't have to go through the terrible suffering of the traumatic death that people were going to inflict on him if they caught him. So he wanted Lenny to die happy. So he knew Lenny loved rabbits, and the last word he said before he told Lenny to look off in the distance and imagine a farm with rabbits. The last word he said was rabbits, and then he shot Lenny and killed him. Well, I assert if there is a proper way to kill an animal, that would be the proper way. Make sure it's dead. Of course, the vegans are going to agree to disagree with me on that. Um, but from a
Hmm.
karma standpoint, you can't deny that animals that go through torture are going to hurt you consuming them from a karma standpoint more than one that didn't go through torture and actually has some ethereal nourishment in it. That's why I always make sure to get the good stuff at Whole Foods. I will admit though, I don't go organic all the time. I'm still in debt somewhat to the point where I'm willing to sacrifice my health to buy conventional stuff. But once I get out of debt, then I can certainly afford to spend a little more money on the organic things, and then it'll just exponentially get better over the course of time. Do you agree with maybe that's a good way of going about it?
I think it's always good when you try to lighten up, but like on the diet, but and yeah, definitely organic focus. There is another, because there's multi aspects to this. It's like the physical aspect, the ethical aspect, but then there's like the energetical aspect of it too. Yeah, like you were mentioning, like when an animal's tortured, like all of that energy, it goes straight into the meat, and then you ingest it, and it acts. That's actually what happened to me. Like I'm very sensitive energetically, and I would eat meat and I would go into these rages, and like I had massive stomach problems. I had a lot of health issues in general when I ate meat. And I started experimenting with my diet. I cut it out, and I had a massive change in my energy. I was able to tap into different levels of consciousness and see and understand things that I hadn't been able to grasp before. And another thing is that like the animal, the flesh is dead. You know, it's like it's a form of cannibalism. It's just dead. There's no life force in it. That's why vegetables and fruits, they're filled with water content, nutrients, they're filled with life force. And the body, it runs much better on it, especially alkaline foods. And that's another thing about acidic-based starch foods is that, foods that are hybridized, they have a starch base. So like, for example, a dog is hybridized because it's been crossbred. So a cow is also hybridized. So when that meat breaks down, it breaks down to a starch base, which is of acidic, and it's like a mucus. So our bodies they're electrical. We have electrical communication through all parts of our body. So if you've got mucus accumulation in a particular area of your body, like let's say it's in the brain, you're going to end up developing things like Alzheimer's. If you've got mucus accumulation in the lungs, you're going to develop pneumonia. So that's why it's important to rid yourself of any starch-based hybridized foods and go more towards alkaline foods, because our body, or disease, cancers, all of this cannot survive in an alkaline environment. Cancer needs an acidic environment in order to feed and to grow itself off of. And if anybody is interested, I would highly recommend you check out Dr. Sebi's work. He was a true healer of our time, and he actually won this case in the Supreme Court in 2016. A few months after he won that case in the Supreme Court and people found out that there was a cure for cancer, he was murdered in a Honduras jail. He was poisoned, but they took him out. And then Nipsey Hussle went to document his story about all the food and what they did to him, and then Nipsey Hussle was killed. So obviously there's some, people out there that don't want this information out there. But this is information, it's the truth when it comes to food, and I've actually healed a lot of people, including myself, my family members. I had an aunt that had developed a tumor in her lung. Within a month and a half, I cured her with an alkaline vegan raw diet, meditation, exercise, and essential oils. And that was all it took. No chemo, no nothing.
And since you mentioned essentials, boy, I'm glad you told me you're really into all this stuff because now we have a lot of things worth talking about on this show besides the 432 hertz thing. But essential oils, I'm not really a big user of essential oils because, well, I try and I've been told I try to make things complicated for myself, and over the last few months I've been trying to not do that to some degree. And one of the things is don't go crazy on so many essential oils and all that. You don't, I mean, like maybe just in that case, maybe it's good to stick with one and go with it. Maybe the best for me. And I just read somewhere that the best essential oil for my sign of tiger in the Chinese zodiac is clary
Oh, nice.
sage. So I bought
You were born 86?
yes. So I'm a fire tiger.
Awesome.
Clary sage is my essential oil of choice there, and I put it in a little diffuser and just let the air go in my house. And I'm sure that if I don't really need to worry about all the other essential oils, if I have one that's naturally set to go like that and keep me in check and keep me happy while I'm doing things in my house. Although on the other hand, for some reason, I felt completely different with crystals, though. I have gone on a little
Ooh.
bit of a crystal buying bonanza over the past couple months.
Nice, me
Ever
too.
since I've been looking at astrologyanswers.com, the Aries zodiac for me, Aries in the tropical astrology, Pisces and sidereal astrology, but astrology
Oh,
answers
me
is
too.
yeah,
I'm Aries too.
yeah, in tropical, it could be different for sidereal for some, but
Yeah.
Aries is my tropical sign, and I've been looking at the health things and every health report they have for Aries and all the other signs on astrologyanswers.com. What is the crystal of choice that you should be carrying on any given day? And ever since my credit card company said earn a lot of airline miles if you spend $1,000 in this month, I've taken advantage of that and bought a ton of crystals with my credit card every day. I check the horoscope and whatever crystal it says, I've been buying that. I don't do that with essential oils though. If they were to, I don't know if I'll be tempted to do that with essential oils. If they say this is the essential oil you should use on any given day, maybe I'll be like, no. I got my clary sage, that's good enough. But for some reason, I've felt a different thing with crystals to get a lot of different crystals rather than just one essential oil. So, well, I don't know if maybe you can help me make sense of why I'm like that. I don't know why I'm like that, and I think you know why I'm like that. But when it comes to crystals and essential oils, I'm sure you are more of an expert than I am. So why don't you? Because I really focus on what's good for me, not really the broad thing, and maybe you focus on the broad
Sure,
thing.
yeah, no. I would love to share with you information about essential oils. A lot of people, including myself until just a few years ago, really, we just thought of it as like one thing, but essential oils are so much more than what is known in the general public. First of all, with essential oils is like 95% of the brands out there, because there's no regulation, there's no like what is it called, like FDA. They don't check essential oils for like its purity because it's not seen like as a standard way of medicinal healing. People, all kinds of companies put additives and fillers in them in order to sell them and make more of a profit. But what happens is when, like for example, you go to Whole Foods and you get one that says all organic, all natural, and then you look in the back and it says do not ingest. If it says do not ingest, that means that it's not pure. That means that it's been filled with something. And a true essential oil should be just the plant extract. And when it's just the plant extract, then the whole, all the doors open as to its functionality. Now you can be using it medicinally. You can use it in all your house and cleaning products. You could use it as a fabric softener. I mean, it's endless, endless, endless. You could use it as a natural perfume. It has so many functions. So I use essential oils for everything. Like you do, I use it to diffuse. I love clary sage. It's great for balancing emotions. However, so I actually caught, I don't know if it was this COVID-19 or if it was the influenza, but back in February, I pretty much got all the symptoms that checked the box of this COVID-19. And I looked in my essential oil book because it has a remedy for everything. And I just went under a regular old flu, and it said that the essential oils that cure that are Melissa, yarrow palm, which is yarrow and pomegranate combined, and then I used oregano, which is and cinnamon. So these are super antifungal, antibacterial, like anti-everything. They really do an amazing job at penetrating intercellularly, reprogramming the cell and cleaning it out of all the poison that's been delivered intercellularly. So within a day and a half of finding out what it was that I had, I treated it according to the condition. And in a day and a half, I broke my fever and I broke the flu. And it was a heavy one, like it was really intense. Definitely a lot of dry coughing. And also like a movie that you have to check out on Netflix, it's called Stink. And it is incredible. It goes into the chemical industry and how all of our, like so many of our products have tons of toxic chemicals that cause cancer, that break the DNA, that cause sterilization with women, infertility issues. I mean, like really horrendous problems across the board, endocrine disruptors. And they show how this factory in New Jersey that creates all of these chemicals, basically, so for example, if you've got like laundry detergent, you can check any sort of product, and in the back, they passed a law that enabled them to just write the term fragrance, but not tell you what those fragrances are. So technically, in one labeling of fragrance, let's say in your laundry detergent or in your hand soap, it could contain up to 150 different toxic chemicals. And when you breathe these fragrance chemicals in, it really creates a lot of havoc within the body, and it poisons the body. So once I learned all of this, I removed everything from my house, and I got everything, and I make everything with essential oils. I have a whole playlist on my Electrically Alkaline channel for an introduction to essential oils, and the best company out there, it's the #1 company worldwide for essential oils. They're called doTERRA, and they quality test their product 54 times for purity. It's the purest oil on the market, and their oils are available to ingest. So like even peppermint, for example. Peppermint is a great way to cut out over-the-counter headache medication like Advil or Tylenol. And you just put a few drops of peppermint on your temples and a few drops into a shot of water. You take it in, and within 5 minutes, your headache is gone, and you don't have to deal with all the shit that's coming from those over-the-counter medications.
Thank you very much. Very enlightening there. And but like I said, I don't know if I'm going to splurge on all the essential oils. I'm fine with clary sage, and of course, being an 8 life path, that does kind of 8 life path number restrict me to wanting to save my money a little bit and not necessarily splurge on luxuries. And the best thing, if I know that going with the average thing will allow me to go for better things in the future. That's the, well, it all depends on your life path regarding what floats your boat and all that, and other factors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors involved, and well, you did make that very clear. And by the way, I am going to have to end this show in about 25 minutes. Something kind of just came up, so well, not that I would need to go more than an hour to cover everything that you do, but I'm going to have to ask, maybe try to cover some of these subjects on the fly. I'm going to try to cover all the subjects here in some degree that you cover on the Electrically Alkaline channel. I'll send you a message after the show to tell you what the issue is here. But let's try to cover a lot of these things here. Sovereignty in the UCC, that's, well, sovereignty is definitely something worth discussing. I always push
Yeah.
for stepping up for personal sovereignty, no matter how much the control system may try to hassle you and make your life miserable. The thing about the UCC, though, and I want to address this, a little bit of a debate I've heard about this. Randy Kelton, the co-host of Rule of Law Radio, he thinks there is a conspiracy of sorts to keep us from looking at the Uniform Commercial Code. There's a lot of things in there that we could actually use to our advantage, he asserts. However, Dave Champion, who wrote the book Income Tax Shattering the Myths, he said that the UCC is not legally binding upon anyone or anything. It's just a set of guidelines and really cannot be used in a court as a legally binding document to try to prove a point like you must do this because the UCC says this. No, no, that's not the case. He says because it's not legally binding upon anyone. So why Randy Kelton thinks there's a conspiracy to cover it up because we could use it, I don't know. I haven't really had a chance to address this with them one-on-one, even though I've had both of them on the show, but maybe you can explain what it is about the UCC that you make it worthy about to discuss in this video you got on your channel a week ago.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up because I really think that is one of the most important topics that we all need to be talking and learning about right now. Part of why we are in the state that we're in and we're labeled as citizens and basically the government is able to, you know, have us in debt like you were just mentioning a minute ago. I actually do have a remedy for you of how you can get out of that debt successfully. And it is, it's vital. Like this is such an important thing because we've been playing checkers when the game has been chess. And they don't want you to know that. You know, people think that the Constitution is still enacted. It's not. Like that's why every time you go into the courtroom, your constitutional rights, they're not valid in that courtroom and they've never been honored. I know this because I've done it myself. I've tried to go in with my constitutional rights and have them remove the smart meter from my house, and they don't honor it because they're operating under the Uniform Commercial Code, which is what we're not talked about. And this is a really in-depth subject. I'm taking a 5-week master course on it right now with Phoebe Bashkus, which is from the New Earth University that Sasha Stone funded, and she's taking us through the steps of how to reclaim our sovereignty. It's a process that it's a very particular process that has to happen. First, you need to own your straw man. So when you're born, your mother registers your birth, and your mother unknowingly became an informant.
Whoa. Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need to stop you right here. I'll let you continue with what you're about to talk about, the straw man theory, but some people who are listening to this are going to assert that you're going to get a lot of people into trouble for this because this is just a patronat myth that has no basis in fact. It has been asserted by a few, including Eddie Craig, the Rural Radio co-host, who like Randy Kelton's co-host. Eddie Craig's also a co-host on that. He has made it clear that this birth certificate straw man thing, okay, maybe you can make a case that that it is real and all that, and that's what they're doing, and the whole corporation, they made you a corporation thing and legal fiction and all. Yeah, it's real, but knowing that isn't going to help you any more or less than not knowing it is. Eddie Craig would assert that
it's gonna liberate you from your debts, and it's gonna liberate you from the slavery that you are a part of. It is of vital importance. And not only can I put up an argument against it, I have proof. I actually have the Uniform Commercial Code. It's written in their textbooks, and I've got it on my channel on that video. I've got the code number where they can look it up and see the proof for themselves. And this is 100% real. And it's not even that complicated. It's actually like pretty simple. And the block letters, go look at your passport, go look at your driver's license, go look at your credit cards. This is all under block letters. And if you look at your CC commercial code, anything under block letters represents a straw man. A straw man is a legal fiction. This is not even a living and human being. So this is what's happening now, and this is why we are in slavery. This is why you're in debt. This is why we are all running on the hamster wheel.
Yes. Well, what I want to make clear, though, when I said that now Eddie Craig, I agree to disagree with him on his assertion that it does not create a straw man. It does not create a legal fiction. It does. What he's not seeing, though, is that this has spiritual level ramifications. And to make a nice analogy for what I'm trying to assert, like I've heard a spell you can use to get yourself off credit card karma. Put a tower buster on your credit card where the chip is, and that will yeah, I mean, they say it's not going to get the debt out of it, but the spiritual energetic stuff. You're laughing, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
That's
here.
Hilarious. Yeah,
You've heard about this
before.
but a tower buster on a credit card to get the energetic karma out of the card. That will help you at a spiritual level, but at the physical level regarding the debt, that doesn't help you. I was going to say, and when I so rudely interrupted you, I'm sorry, but I had to do that for people who think that you're going to get a lot of people in trouble for this. That when you go to a court saying you just created a straw man for me, this birth certificate is makes me a corporation, you can't do that. You're not going to win doing that. What you have to do, according to people like Eddie Craig, you have to play the politics. You have to realize that the statutes and the codes and the ordinances, they're written in a commercial capacity to make it clear that to say you're doing something in commerce where there's a contract, so there's regulatory authority, so we can do this to you and violate your rights because you contractually consented. You have to use their own laws to beat them. That is hands down the best way to beat them. But you're not going to beat them saying, well, you created a straw man to me because of the birth certificate. Well, okay, you're not going to beat them, but
Of
I still
course,
want you to say
yeah.
it's a good thing to do to point it out, because at a spiritual level, knowing that and trying to solve that can free you, just like the tower buster on the credit card frees you at a spiritual level, right?
Well, yeah, well, this is the thing. It's that you can go into the 3D and actually not have to pay debt. First of all, what people need to know is that all your debt has already been paid for. It's called the Siskiyou Trust, and all of our names have been traded on the stock market and have millions of dollars to them. You can actually look this up. I have the name of the name of the company with the phone number. They're located in New York. It's called a QSIP number, and you can find out how much money is on your QSIP number. And so basically, what they do to double dip into your trust is they get you to contract with them. So I'll give you a perfect example. When you have your utility bill sent to you, have you ever noticed that it's always said that it was a statement? A statement, the legal definition of a statement is something that's already been paid for. It's already been paid for by your trust, but they just want to double dip because they're greedy motherfuckers and they want to suck you dry, and they don't want you living an abundant life. So this has been done many times by my teacher and many other people, and it works, and they don't pay utility bills anymore. And what they do is they send back the statement to the utility company and they say approved. And then the utility company will say, what do you mean approved? And say, yes, I approve this statement that you paid it. If you want me to pay this bill, you need to send me a commercial true bill. And they will never send you a commercial true bill because it's already been paid for. And that is when you know what's a bill and what is not a bill. This is all legal terms. That's why it's very important for people to start studying the UCC. But this is the thing, the UCC is so massive, it takes so many years just to decode it, that you're much better off teaming up with a teacher or a master that has done all of the hard years of laborious, intensive study with the UCC, so that they know it like the back of your hand and they can just teach it to you, all of the things that you need to do. It's a specific process. You untangle yourself from the corporation, and you have to copyright your legal fiction name. And once you have ownership of it as the sovereign, you have to declare also paperwork of your sovereignty. You send it and you have to re-sign your signatures. I'm going to be putting it on my channel, the process on how to do it. I might actually be helping people do it too in the future. That's something I'm really getting passionate about, because you have to reclaim your sovereignty, and there is a legal way to do it, because this is like a machine, and it doesn't really it's not even human, so it's like with the paperwork, and when you act according to the law, you're protected. Like, they can't touch you.
Oh yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, I've certainly feel the same way you do about trying to be passionate about using the law to your advantage. Now, Rule of Law Radio, Randy Kelton and Eddie Craig, the guys I mentioned earlier, I mean, I support their method, which I think is the best method, of course, to fight in the courtroom during a trial, using their own laws to beat them black and blue. But the problem that I assert with that is you're basically doing perpetual check in chess, where you're always going to have the upper advantage, but you're never going to be able to overpower your opponent. Like, you're putting the king in check all the time, having an advantage, but you'll never be able to checkmate him, because it's just perpetual check over and over. The way to beat that is to get really spiritual about it. And maybe Eddie and Randy are going to pick on me for this, but I'm going to be a little critical to say that Rule of Law Radio, guys, you got to get a little more right brain. Don't be so left brain and closed minded. I mean, it works well at the down to earth level, but if you really want to spiritual liberate yourself, you got to get more open minded, and that's of course where people like you come in. But of course, I don't want people getting any crazy ideas and say, you made a straw man out of me, you have to find me not guilty, so there in the courtroom, because that's just going to get you thrown in the slammer. So there's
Yeah,
a
good.
good,
That's a good point you just made, and thank you
yeah,
for saying that. Yeah, for anyone really wanting to take this seriously, I strongly recommend that you take Phoebes' course and get acquainted with the material and with the subject at hand. She's got two videos. They're like one's a 4-hour video, the other one's like a 3-hour video, and you will get a crash course on the UCC. And she does these 5-week courses where she helps you with the paperwork, filing the paperwork, so that by the end of the class, you are an actual sovereign, lawfully, legally, and you can conduct yourself as so and not get caught up in these traps that everybody else is stuck in. And yeah, definitely do it lawfully, and don't, going into a courtroom and just kind of like, like acting like that. It's not going to help you in the long run.
absolutely. So, all right, let's cover a few things on the fly here. I see you have a video on Feng Shui. I've incorporated that myself.
Oh, cool.
Very much so. There's I don't remember the guy's name, but he had a like best way to incorporate Feng Shui in the year 2020. Now, the question I have with that is, okay, if he's going to make a completely different chart for all the other years coming after this, I mean, there's a house for authority, sickness, academic, prosperous, robbery, disaster, supporters, quarrelsome, and wealth. Those are the 9 different labels in the 2020 flying star chart that he has for Feng Shui in the house. And I'm looking at my house and I'm seeing, okay, this makes sense where all these labels are made. But I'm thinking, if the way this works, if it's only for 2020, how do you make sense of the fact that in another year all the numbers and all the labels regarding like authority,
Yeah.
sickness, academic, how are they going to change, and how does one make sense of how they can make sense of how their Feng Shui alchemy has changed every year?
That's so funny because I went through the same thing you did. It was so overwhelming when I was learning about it. I was like, I need to, like change all these things every year. So that was too much for me. So what I just did is I went back to the traditional feng shui of how it is regardless of the year. And I set my house up accordingly. And then maybe if there was one key feature for 2020, like I would just kind of do an accent for the year, but keep it based on the Bagua, independent of what year it is.
So that's your style. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are allegedly hurting humanity and what we can do about them, like a car radiation, 5G. Now, the really high spiritual people would assert that anyone who's in such control of their consciousness can basically put a white light shield around them to protect themselves from any sort of electromagnetic frequency or 5G or anything. Um, but that raises the question, okay, are you saying that we should focus on that so we get all the people who sell iodine and other and like little EMF chips, should we actually try to put them out of business by raising our consciousness to the point where we don't need to use these things as protection tools anymore? I mean, I've actually had, believe it or not, a couple of my EMF chips taken away mysteriously, like the disappearing object phenomenon. After speaking to a psychic, she told me that my paternal grandfather, the other side, told her that my angels and guides were taking them from me as a way of saying, wink, wink, you don't need to waste your money on these things. We're going to protect you
Oh, wow.
and do the same job. Well, that's a good thing for me, but of course, other people who aren't in such a high level of consciousness and don't have such strong connections with their higher selves, they don't have the luxury of being able to not have these protection things. They would need to take something like maybe a few iodine drops a day to protect themselves. So how do you know when you've crossed the line, so to speak, where you don't really need to use protection to protect yourself from these things?
I love it. I got to say, I love the topics that we're talking about today. We're definitely in tune with the same material, and I love that you brought that up because that's another important thing that we need to start talking about. Yeah. So, okay. So this is the way it is. There are humans that are at a certain ability Like, let's say if you're not really that spiritually in tune or woke, or you're not really conscious of your energy or your diet or your internal realm, your psyche, you're operating at a lower vibration. And for them, it would be a lot harder to guard themselves against 5G and these other harmful radiations. However, for someone who has consciously done the work, cleaned themselves out, are in tune and are centered, it will be much easier for them to be able to block themselves. It is 100% possible. And this is the beautiful thing about evolving your consciousness and working with your energy and becoming more of a master and in tune with nature, is that we live in a fractal reality. So as inside, so outside. You can actually change weather patterns. You can create rainbows. I've seen these things firsthand from a beautiful spiritual master that I studied under. His name is Prashant Trivedi, and he's got tons of videos too showing himself making these rainbows and doing all of these incredible things. And me, along with a group of other light workers here in Miami, we have had 3 hurricanes try to hit us over the past 4 years. And I don't know if you remember 2017 Hurricane Irma. It was like a total genetically modified hurricane. It was coming at a category 6, which didn't even exist at the time. It was coming in at over 200 miles per hour. And it was crazy, and the eye of the storm was projected to hit Miami. I mean, it was going to be like an atomic bomb. So everybody got evacuated, and we all started working like a week before on these group meditations and of diminishing the power of the storm and gearing it into another direction. And you can actually go back and see this and track the hurricane. The night before it was set to hit Miami, it dropped from a category 6 to a category 3 and did something spectacular. It made a sharp left turn, which is so weird. It's not normal behavior for a hurricane to do this, and it did it. And it saved Miami, and it saved a lot of South Florida. We still had damage, but nothing compared to what it would have been. And when I saw that, and we did this with 2 other hurricanes, and when I saw that we were capable of doing this, I mean, it was game over. Like CERN and HARP and all of this, it's like they have to try so hard because they know our true capacity.
Yes, keep raising your consciousness, and you can do anything. You can even drink a whole bottle of LSD and not trip if you can keep your consciousness in tune so much to not. That's an example David Icke used of some powerful spiritual guru who actually took a humongous dose of LSD and didn't trip because he was in control of his own consciousness and he could, stay sober. So, although why he would want to enjoy the fun of tripping on LSD, I don't know. But the point is, he was able to do that because he was at his own consciousness. But some people aren't like that, so you have to know when to draw the line and all. So, what are some other things we can discuss? Only got a few minutes left. What else? You have a global warming scam here. Yeah, that's a scam. I saw another video here about that I chose not to watch today, talking about a coming ice age. I've been hearing that whole thing about an ice age coming. That's not going to happen. I mean, Cliff Hyde, the Webbuck guy, said we're due for an ice age because the planets Jupiter and Saturn are going to be in an alignment that's going to tug Earth farther away from the sun, which is going to make it colder. But I contend that that's not how the cosmos works. In reality, climate is dependent on consciousness, and we're going to be able to keep our consciousness at a level where there's not going to be any sort of an ice age coming. And there's going to be no idea that global warming can cause an ice age by shutting down the Gulf Stream when it melts the ice caps and shuts down the Gulf Stream, plunging Earth into frigid temperature. No, none of that's going to happen. There is no man-made stuff. So, but you wanted to point out that it's a scam. Call it that. Definitely worth pointing that out.
It's a further taxation. It's the carbon tax. They're just looking, for another way to further reallocate funds into their bank accounts.
Right. Another interesting video I see here, the dark side of the Aquarian era. Just finished watching a video by astrologer Joseph P. Anthony where he said the Aquarian age is the age of humanity. I become a little confused about this because I noticed that the tiger, my sign, the Chinese zodiac, its astrological Western equivalent is said to be Aquarius, but I said earlier I'm not an Aquarius. I'm an Aries at a in tropical and a Pisces in sidereal. I mean, what Aquarius qualities do I have? How do I make sense of something like that? And to see something like this, the dark side, how can there be a dark side of an Aquarian era? Well, you basically put it in the video picture here, gender neutral. I mean,
Yeah, there
that's
you
the
go.
dark. You're making it clear that there's going to be a dark side because we're going to call things gender neutral, and that's going to confuse a lot of people. So,
The whole gender, like the whole merging of the genders and this transsexuality and men wanting to become women and to cut off their penises and create vaginas, this is completely unnatural. And I know the Democratic liberals are probably going to be in a fury about this, but yes, this is not in accordance with nature. This is to further confuse us and to further take us out of our true divine spiritual essence and soul essence. And another thing, a dark side of the Aquarian era is the social distancing that we're seeing right now. I think that's a perfect example. And a lot of technology, like Aquarius is with Saturn co-ruled with Uranus, and Uranus rules technology. So that's another dark side of it. Is like when we were walking down the street and when we would see other people, everybody's on their phones. Everyone is completely dependent with technology, and a lot of people aren't realize that they're actually being sucked in. And the plan is to merge with it eventually. And when you merge with it, it's going to be, when their plan is to activate 5G, get AI complete. AI is already running, but they'll be able to mainstream AI, and then they would love to either insert a chip into us, or whether it be with the nano, or however they decide to basically put us into the system, so that they'll say, oh, you'll be a genius, you'll be able to Google something in a matter of seconds, and you'll have all this information to your at your hand. But what people aren't seeing is that it's a trap to take over your consciousness and your divine sovereignty, and it can very well take over your consciousness, manipulate your frequency. It's not good, and it's not good also because people aren't social in the way that they used to be, especially the younger generations. I have a younger sister of mine who was born in 2000, and so she grew up with Wii, and she grew up with a cell phone and all of this stuff and Wi-Fi, and I find it very sad. They don't go out and play in parks. She doesn't know how to connect to nature. It's like this, it's almost like they're not even fully human anymore. So it's really important that we all are cautious and aware of how much time we're spending on our technologies, and the fact that they emit high amounts of radiation. Like you don't want to be exposing your body to this level of radiation, because radiation mutates the cell, and a mutated cell becomes cancerous. That's a whole other thing that's going on. Like I've got a fourth of my family that have died and are dying of cancer, and I had two that just died from cancer 2 months ago. One was 50 and one was in his 80s. So it's like, there's something going on with all these cell phone towers and all of this bombardment of radiation everywhere. Like even when a quick tip for everyone, when you go through at the airport through the what is it called? The security machines, they
they
emit
can
high
body
amounts
scan.
of
Yeah, I actually interviewed the guy who saw the underwear bomber attack in person, Kurt
yeah.
Haskell. That was a memorable interview.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
emits a large amount of radiation, and you don't need it. And there's a law that they passed that you can actually opt out. And I do it every time I travel through the airport. I say I'm opting out, and I would like a female for a pat down. Or if you're a male, you could say I would like a male for a pat down. And they have to honor your request. And they'll ask you sometimes, why are you opting out of the machine? And say, because I'm exposed to high levels of radiation, which is entirely true. We all are. So there are ways to get around it, and also I love researching and learning about energy devices, and there have been 2 devices that have been tested with independent laboratories around the world that have successfully blocked out 5G. The first one is called the 5G BioShield, and it's a holographic nanotechnology. It's a USB chip with a quartz, and you can look into it. It's called the 5G BioShield. It's incredible. The laboratory tests are up there so people can check it out. And the next one is the Soma Veda, Soma Vedic energy device, and that also blocks out 5G. It kills harmful bacteria. It neutralizes geopathic stress zones, and it also charges and programs the water. So they took a picture of the water before and after putting it next to this device, only 15 minutes, and it converted all of the water molecules to these beautiful sacred geometrical patterns. And I did a water test and tested it, and the water taste was night and day. It was beautiful.
Awesome. All right, I can ask you a couple more questions. Go a little past 7 here, so and then I have to call it a show. But there's a couple videos here really stand out here. First of all, flat Earth. You have a video about that. I remember David Icke, when he was asked about that, he didn't actually give a direct answer, but instead just said that whatever the Earth is whatever our consciousness tells us it is, and whatever flat and spherical is whatever our consciousness tells us flat and spherical is. Well, nice answer, but he didn't really answer the question. I also had the privilege of interviewing Flat Earth poster boy Santos Bonacci. It was very, very unusual that just a week before the interview, I interviewed Alex Ansary, and Alex said in the interview, a lot of people said, talk about Flat Earth, want to talk about it with me, I don't want to hear it, and after the interview, I was like, I don't want to hear about it at all myself, but then when I realized 2 days before the interview that the guy was going to interview with Santos Bonacci, and I didn't realize until that I saw that I was going to interview him, that he was the poster boy for the flat earth theory. I actually spent 2 days cramming like a college student cramming for a test, learning about the flat earth theory just so I could have a talk and a debate with him about it. And I'm going to tell you that my listeners weren't really very impressed with what Santos had to say, but he still seems to stick to it, and some people think he's definitely lost his marbles about it, and I think there's more than enough evidence to show that flat earth definitely cannot be true. So what exactly was this video about anyway?
Oh, well, I have, it's interesting you mentioned Santos because I was just watching his video yesterday, and I have to agree with Santos 110%. People, the earth is flat. I know it's highly controversial. I know this is shocking. Trust me, when I found out in 2016, I had an adverse reaction. I didn't believe it. I had cognitive dissonance. So I understand what people are feeling right now. I totally get it. The whole basis of your reality has been turned upside down, and it feels very uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be doing anybody justice if I was here to make you feel comfortable. Like, I'm here to spread truth about what I know, and this is absolutely true, and this is a fundamental subject that people come to know for yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to go do your own research. You can actually do experiments on your own, with your own eyes. You will see the truth for what it is. There have been countless experiments. There's amazing videos. I put it in the description below in my video where people can see the experiments done. Like, they did so many times where, so like per the calculation of where the curvature should be when a boat travels out to a certain distance, the naked eye can't see it, right? So they're like, oh yeah, it's going down the curve. But if you take in a high zoom camera, you will always see the boat.
Yeah, and the people the people that say the Earth is spherical will say that's only because the gravity is bending the light. It has nothing to do with the shape.
That's another thing, gravity. And I know I don't think too many people maybe have heard this yet on your channel, but this is another thing, and I know people are gonna go crazy when I say it. Gravity doesn't exist.
Well, actually, nobody knows what gravity is. Everybody gets it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. The only thing that exists is the density of the object. That's what it is, density of object. And another thing, NASA is total fake. This is total mind programming. The reason why all of the globe is actually a false conspiracy, and the reason why they've been putting these globe models into our schools and indoctrinating us and programming us as real children is because if we don't know what we're standing on, and if we don't know the construct of the reality we're living in, we're forever lost. We have no starting point on the evolution. So on our evolution to consciousness, to awareness, to true knowledge. And that's exactly where they get us. They stifle us. and just go conduct your own experiments. There's been so many times, like in Hawaii, and in Chicago, there's so many places that for the curvature would be completely hidden. You take a camera, you zoom it in, it's there every time. Another thing, in a plane, it has a horizontal odometer, and if we were to have a curve, these odometers in the planes, they would have to change and alter the horizon, but they're painted on. It's painted on the odometer. That means it's flat. That means there's no readjusting of the horizontal and the curvature line. So it's like there's all of these things that add up, and there's so much proof that like it's overwhelming. And there's great videos on it too.
Okay, well you've opened up a whole new can of worms, and people are going to definitely have a field day with this and the troll thing.
Yeah.
One little issue that I have though, that I can't help but ask you about this. What about all the countless and countless extraterrestrial contactees who said that they have extraterrestrials who have shown them evidence that the Earth is spherical and have even taken them up into space to show them that the Earth is spherical? What do you have to say about that?
Oh, well, that's easy. I mean, first of all, these extraterrestrials have far more abilities than we do technologically, mentally. It's incredible what they have and the capacities they have. It would be so easy to make you see and believe whatever they want you to. There's no doubt in my mind.
But I'm saying these are benevolent ETs that the contactees are communicating with, that are trying to give their contactees the truth. If they wanted to take the person out to space to show them the Earth from space and see that the Earth was spherical, then, well, you're actually saying that these aliens must be either giving them false information or flat out lying to them, or not what they claim they are. So that was actually the last thing that I told Santos when I debated him on the flat Earth and spherical Earth theory, and well, I don't remember exactly what his answer was. He asserts that all the ETs come from a area below the flat Earth in some dimension down there, but I still have an issue with all the ET contactees who have said my ETs have shown me the Earth from space and have even taken me there. It's spherical. Flat Earth is not true. That's one of my biggest issues with the flat Earth, and I wanted to point that out. But
yeah, I would say to see the intent of these ETs and what it is they're trying to show you and for what purpose. Is it to reinforce your belief, or I think to look deeper into that. But at the bottom of there was something else. You mentioned David Icke about this too, and how when he was asked about this, and at the end, David just kind of says it's what you perceive to be your reality. So it's
I know, that's what I said when I first brought this up, that David Icke did a video about it. He didn't answer the question. He just said it's whatever your consciousness tells you it is. So, but okay, the trolls are gonna have a field day with this. Let's switch the subject.
Oh, you don't even know how much they went on my channel. It's like the minute I put that video up, I was bombarded with troll ups. Like, just they rammed at me so hard. But I think there's a lot of paid trolls out there, and to discredit this information, like if this wasn't real information, and nobody would really care about it, nobody would like go crazy over it and like spam me and like send me all of these crazy messages of like how I'm like a witch or something.
All right. Time for one more question, and then I'll give you the chance to get at anything you like in your contact info. And I see you have a video here. Switch to bamboo paper. Now we shouldn't be cutting down the trees for paper. That was one of humanity's biggest mistakes. Just like we shouldn't be drilling oil out of the ground as a fuel.
Totally.
There's better ways to do it. However, I have an issue with bamboo. Think of all the pandas. Well, that's not the issue. I'm just making a joke out of it. But aside from the pandas, hemp. What about hemp? They say hemp is by far the best way to make paper, not
hemp
bamboo.
Is amazing.
Okay,
yeah, hemp is great too, for sure. So I love it. The thing that's good about bamboo is that you can plant bamboo and it grows so much faster, so much stronger, and in such a smaller space. So yeah, there's tons of alternatives out there. Like, that's why I was really passionate about these aircrete dome homes. People can check that out on Dome Gaia. It's beautiful because it's not using, like any timber or anything like that. Like, you're not really raping Mother Nature in that way. And it's, there's great sustainable alternatives that are coming out. And I'm really looking forward to the next couple years when the Cabal gets taken down and we can finally have access to free energy, which Tesla discovered in his time. I know it's out there. I'm just waiting for it to come out to the market so that we can start using it. It's going to be a really exciting time.
Yes, it is, and that April 8th, 2024 eclipse, which also happens in conjunction with the same time as Pluto and Capricorn coming to an end. That's definitely going to signal the end of a lot of destruction and things. So 2024, I
Yeah.
think, is going to be basically a very, very magical year in many ways. But there's a lot of factors, astrology, numerology, and you got to look at them all to get the true answer. But even then, you're not going to get a true answer. So it's great to have people like you to come on my show. And with that being said, I got to bring this to an end. I'll send you a message as to why I wasn't able to go any further than this. Not, but I think we covered a lot of things. Most of the things that you have here on your Electrically Alkaline page. So with that said, why don't you get out anything you like, anything that you're planning for the future in regards to your videos and how people can reach you and whatnot, and close us out, please.
Sure. People can reach me youtube.com/Oxnylia or my website. It's oxnylia.com. And my Electrically Alkaline, youtube.com/Electrically Alkaline. In my playlist, they'll find everything that we talked about today, from health to occultism to essential oils. And what's coming up in the future is definitely living off the grid, self-sustainability, reclaiming your sovereignty. And I'll be covering this in my educational channel, and I'll be putting out more music. I put out a crystal full meditation if people want to, kind of disconnect from all the chaos that's going on and get in tune with some beautiful crystal sounds. And I want to thank you too for really, spreading this information and for asking really important questions and sharing it with the public. I think this is great what you're doing, and I encourage your listeners to go and research, and confirm these things for yourself. Don't take any information in blindly. It's important to have it confirmed for yourself.
Absolutely, and well, in regards to me saying the trolls are going to have a field day with what we just said about the flat Earth. Ever since I've been doing this show since November 2013, I have never deleted a single comment that has ever been made on my YouTube channel or any other medium. Trolls are the least of my problems, but I do want to encourage people, please don't really make a scene out of this. There's more important things to talk about and things to discuss regarding besides the shape of the object we stand on. I mean, okay, maybe some will agree to disagree with me, but I don't think that we need to be distracted and diverted from things that maybe shouldn't take priority. So I'm not going to say that any further. Good thing I had you, because you had a lot to offer. Even though people may agree to disagree with you on things, you had a lot to offer. Very enlightening, and I'll definitely continue to listen to those 432 words videos. They definitely seem to be having a positive effect on me at a subconscious level, and I will upload this interview that I did with you to YouTube by midnight tomorrow at the absolute latest. So take care. Namaste. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Namaste, Andrew.